Thank you for joining us for the Cannabis Connection weekly webinar series. I am your host, Jamie Cooper, CEO and founder of Cannabis Connection. Today, I'm joined by our security founding member. We have Aaron Steiglitz, the Director of Operations for National Cannabis Security Services. And today we are talking about promoting safety and security in the cannabis industry from cultivation to consumption. Thanks for joining us today, Aaron. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. This is your first webinar with me.
Yes.
Very excited to be doing this. We've had the opportunity of hosting some events together, and in fact, we're hosting another one together this week.
Yep, here on Thursday. It's going to be super exciting for anyone in Michigan that certainly should come join us.
Absolutely. So Aaron, tell us about what we're going to be talking about today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and National Cannabis Security Services.
Okay, if you could just click over to the next screen real quick.
All right.
So today, I just really want to talk about the importance of a secure industry. It's very important to make sure for the longevity and the progression of the cannabis industry that we adhere to all the laws and try to make this as secure as possible. Some of the points that we'll be talking on today is about integrating security protocols in everyday business operations. It ensures the safety and compliance of facilities, operations, and staff. We're also going to go over secure operations, how they ensure public safety and allow law enforcement to focus on real issues. And then how promoting a safe and secure industry aids in the battle of changing the stigma around the cannabis industry. Whether it's a small dispensary, a large remote outdoor grow, or a state-of-the-art processing facility, like security is one of the most important components of the rapidly developing cannabis industry. So here on the next screen, just to tell everyone a little bit about myself and background. Right out of high school, I joined the United States Marine Corps, where I served as an infantry squad leader for 6 years. During that portion, I was also an enlisted and officer candidate recruiter, which was great fun, got to change a lot of lives. And then after that, I joined the reserves and was part of the military funeral honors while attending Western Michigan, where I studied integrated supply chain management. And then I moved out to Chicago for 3 years, worked in international logistics for a little bit, decided to come back to Michigan and dive into the cannabis industry.
And so born and raised in Michigan then?
No, born on the East Coast, born in New Jersey, raised in New York, adopted out to the Michigan, where I was 9 and pretty much hometown from there.
I love these pictures of you. Look at the young Aaron. Not that you're not young now, but
I miss it every day.
That's
There's a lot of good experience. Really brought a lot of security minded aspects, and really helps with what we do now here in National Cannabis Security Services. If you actually go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about what we do at NCSS.
Okay.
So here at National Cannabis Security Services, we have years of experience with providing cutting-edge security solutions. Some of the things that we allow, or some of the services we provide, are security plans and consulting. That's what a majority of our work's been here in Michigan right now, is we're preemptively getting ready for licenses to get issued. And as licenses get issued, we'll start going in and doing more compliance audits, going in, inspecting your facilities, ensuring that you guys are in compliance with all state rules and regulations, just to easily segue into conducting business. And then from there, we offer guard patrols, or guarding and patrol services, as well as cameras and alarm installation. One thing a lot of people don't consider, depending on your area, building fortification is also very important. We offer some training programs. And then we're currently working on, just like everyone else, working on getting our license approved for a secured transporter here in Michigan. Currently, Ted Daniels and his team out on the East Coast are conducting cash operations, and it's going quite well. Our vision here at National Cannabis Security Services is building relationships, not client lists, because every single facility is not the same. And so the security protocols that go along really need a working partner and someone to walk them through. So if you go to the next slide, Jamie, just talk a little bit about Ted and his background.
Okay.
So Ted was what formed National Cannabis Security Services. He served 15 years in law enforcement, and then he decided to enlist in the United States Army in the infantry. While serving, Ted received a Purple Heart for his injuries, and was medically separated, but his fight was far from over. He saw that there was a need for highly trained security officials in the industry, such as himself and a lot of the people that he had worked with. So he was one of the first in kind of bringing the veteran aspect to the cannabis industry in order to ensure the safety and security. Next slide, just a little sneak peek. Ted has a TV show that's in the works of getting filmed on his life and his work in the cannabis industry. It's going to be called Law and Order Outlaw. It's very exciting. I'm sure if anyone follows us on Facebook, you've seen a couple of trailers.
Looking forward to see it. And Ted, by the way, a little story about Ted, because Ted, I've been working with Ted for about 2 years now. And Ted was working in the cannabis industry in Colorado, and then got out of it, like pretty much retired, sold his company, retired, and then he missed it so much that he came back. So, he's really drawn to this industry, and Ted has a great story, and it's been a pleasure working with him.
Well, the structure that he's set up for the company is very similar to the veteran aspect. And here, if you guys know any veterans, you often hear once we get out, we want to get back in. And so just the way he operated, the way that the company operated was very much just like the military. And it kind of gave us a sense of purpose every day, getting up and protecting not necessarily country, but the people that are investing their time and energy into this industry.
Right.
All right, so the next slide is just briefly, it's just talking about how compliance is key. We're going to dive into licensing right now, and how implementing security protocols, and how Laura has implemented strict security regulations in their ordinances. So if you go to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
So application security requirements right off the bat, in Rule 6, they go ahead and lay out what you're going to need as far as what's going to be in your application. And right at the bottom there you see a security plan is right next to the facility location, which those kind of go hand in hand as far as providing security. So if you go to the next slide, we'll go into a security plan. So Rule 27 here in Michigan goes over security measures, the required plan, and video surveillance system. It's very important to find a security company that has experience with regulated systems, especially in the cannabis industry. All the things that go into it are very meticulous and need to be designed and selected specifically towards your business, and again, towards the cannabis industry. So a proper security plan encompasses things like the protection of your facilities, your physical assets, your products, all your currency, and electronic information. Electronic information being like all your digital access and your camera systems. So it's very important to invest early because doing the minimum to get a green light from the state regulators is not really a good idea. Some of them here in Michigan, thankfully, they're very security minded. They've got Donald Bailey up there with 36 years state police enforcement experience. So he's been a big portion of laying down the laws and making sure that this is a safe and secure industry. What the state needs to get, sorry, I'm going through my notes real quick. But yeah, what the state requires you to get your doors open probably is not what you need, especially in an all cash-based business. So making sure that you lay out your security plan, making sure that it encompasses every portion of your day-to-day operations to ensure the safety of not only, like I said, your business, but also your employees. So if you want to go and go to the next slide, please. So right off the bat here in Rule 9, investigations and inspections, the state police will be coming in, as everyone is aware, and performing these inspections. Right here it says in Rule 9, Part 1, pre-licensure physical inspection to ensure the safety, security, and the integrity of the operations of the proposed marijuana facility. And the department, through its investigators, agents, auditors, and state police, shall conduct inspections and examinations of an applicant and proposed marijuana facilities. Some of the things services that we provide here at National Cannabis Security Services, like I said, are pre-inspection audits. It's just good to get a second pair of eyes right before having someone come in and do an audit. Unfortunately, if you go to the next slide, Rule 16, it lays that the department, without a warrant or without notice to the licensee, can enter the proposed marijuana facility or marijuana facilities, offices, or other places of business of a licensee. So you're not really going to know when they're going to come through and perform these audits. And so that's why it's very important just to make sure you're staying up in compliance, having an outside agency come through and making sure that all your security measurements are taken care of. Like I said, Donald Bailey, the appointed member of the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board, he has over 36 years state police experience. He also attended the Drug Enforcement Agency Drug Units Commanders Academy. So enforcing this compliance with the state laws, especially on the safety and security aspect, is going to be huge.
Right. It's important to him, it seems.
Yes, very important. Well, and it's just to ensure the public safety, and well, we'll get into that here soon. But if you are temporarily operating right now and pending a license, make sure that you adhere to all the rules in Rule 19 that it talks about temporary operations. All right, next slide. Thank you. So compliance with law enforcement. Again, secure operations ensure public safety and allow law enforcement to focus on real issues. I went through and did a couple of studies. Thankfully, my grandfather was police chief of Michigan State University and police chief of Flint, Michigan for numerous years. So he's aided us with communicating with local law enforcement and actually reaching out to a lot of other law enforcement officials throughout the country and kind of figure out how this industry is affecting their local community and their operations. And if you see right here, Mike Jones, New Mexico's retired deputy chief police, another one good friends of my grandpa and a gentleman I was able to sit down and talk with. He said, as a former member of law enforcement, I can understand the reasoning behind these concerns, being the safety and security. Indeed, colleagues prior to the passage of our state's medical marijuana law held many of them. However, these concerns have simply not been borne out. Overall, compliance with the law has been outstanding, which that has ensured safety and security, and it has allowed law enforcement, like I said, to focus on real issues instead of coming in constantly having to inspect these facilities.
Right.
But there's been several other studies throughout the years. In 2012, a study published by the Journal of Alcohol and Drugs found that a density of medical marijuana dispensaries was not associated with violent or property crimes. A lot of concerns that I've seen from law enforcement and a lot of municipalities are the density or how close these facilities are to each other. And it serves more as a deterrent because once they see that one facility has multiple cameras and the lights are shining, that's usually a good sign that the other facility is being watched.
Right. I mean, it's the foot traffic that these dispensaries, that attract. And that foot traffic a lot of times is, like you said, the deterrent, and people, the crime rates drop. And, when we're in the municipalities and you tell people this, it's hard for them to believe.
Yeah.
So they explain these are the reasons why the crime went down, because, it really makes the areas boom bigger that have those provisioning centers.
The more eyes, the better, and that's where the camera systems and physical guarding comes in as well. That just provides more eyes on and acts as a deterrent. And there's other protocols that can go into protecting your facility just beyond those. But a couple other studies, like another one that was done in 2014, is published by the PLOS-1, says non-predictive. It pretty much states that crime rates may be related, non-predictive of crime rates and may be related to reductions in the rate of homicide and assault. So the fact that these facilities are in these neighborhoods, like we said, with eyes on, and even there's been cases where there's been a traffic incident, and the police have been able to utilize other businesses' footage to get to the bottom of whatever caused the accident. So these facilities are actually doing more for the community. All right, so if you want to go to the next slide. So we're going to dive into the meat and potatoes here about securing your facilities, securing your operations, and then ensuring your staff security. All right, next slide. So when securing your facilities, the first one that always comes to mind is facility fortification. Once you've decided your location, building, and what facility you guys are going to be operating, it's very important to take the proper measures to make sure that the outside of that building is fortified from break-in. So things like forced entry or bullet-resistant doors and windows to keep burglars from obviously easy access. employee access hardware like vaults, using multi-point locking systems for your doors, not just a deadbolt, but there's other technologies that allow to completely lock your facility. Exterior lighting and fencing is very important. Good lighting and proper signage are the most underrated methods of criminal deterrence. And another thing, a very big thing to consider investing in is vaults. Like I said, Colorado Harvest stores all of its finished product in vaulted safes, which allows, as soon as someone is able to get past your systems, if for whatever reason, with the alarms blaring and everything, it at least keeps them from being able to access your product.
And what size are these vaults?
The vaults vary, and it just depends. There's a lot of companies that manufacture these vaults. Some vaults, I know that they're rated on a TL status, and which is a time on. It's like tools on actually working on the vaults. So if you get like T30s, that's 30 minutes that it took a top-notch safe cracker to actually, with just tools on, not switching tools and looking at everything, to actually break into these. So you can get ones that are, between 4 cubic feet to bigger, as whatever you need, really.
Okay. Now, are you putting just cash in that, or are you also putting some product in there?
I would recommend having 2 vaults, one for cash and one for product, probably having them on separate ends of the facility. And would definitely not having them right next to each other. And it just allows for accountability. And in your SOPs, you can have specific people designated for handling the cash and specific people for handling the product.
Okay. And obviously not on an outside wall. I have learned that from Ted.
Yes, yes, yes. And if it is on an outside wall, you want to make sure it's a bomb-proof and a storm-proof wall.
Right.
All right, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide.
Okay.
So the next one is securing your facilities again, utilizing cameras and alarm systems. We're partnered with some of the bigger names in the industry for implementing different alarm systems and installing cameras. Rule 27, again, talks about security measures for cameras, but it has relatively low standards for the devices, but really high expectations as far as keeping your eyes on plants and your employees with the RFID tracking. So compliance is key. Just keep that in mind. A monitoring system has a dual role, though. It works for security and for compliance. It allows, if you come in for an audit or for some reason there's a shortage in your inventory or a robbery, it allows you to stay in compliance, keep track of everything. It's at least another piece of the puzzle you can present to law enforcement.
Right.
It also acts as early detection and deterrence, as we said. Just make sure when you put your cameras up in your facilities, don't hide them, put them out in the open, make sure people know that they're being watched, especially in the exterior. If someone comes up to your facility trying to break into the window and has a camera right in their face, they'll be very quick to turn around and consider their other options. So I just want to share a little story. There was a grower who had 130 cheap generic cameras from China installed. It cost him about $50,000. And he passed his inspection, but within 3 days of operation, none of the cameras were working. None of the wires were labeled during the installation. So when replacing it, it costed more money. He had to completely tear everything out. And then he found one of our partners we're working with, he got the same coverage with fewer, better placed, and higher quality cameras that ensured the complete compliance.
Wow. Yeah. Don't make that mistake. Learn from other people's mistakes,
Yes.
and that's, so is it safe to say that investing a little bit more money and not going the cheap route would be better off probably?
Well, like I said at the beginning, you want to make sure that you're going with a company that has experience, proven track record and experience in this industry. So generally it's going to be a little more expensive than your cousin that's put in camera systems at a bunch of gas stations. So yeah, investing early, most definitely. From even phase 1 and phase 2, planning your operation, understanding, hiring someone that understands how this cannabis industry works and is able to walk you through the pieces and ensuring that all your SOPs are in place as well. So yes, from cameras to guards to just general consulting, it's very important to invest early and invest properly. All right, next slide, please. So when securing your facilities, system integration plays a huge part. Pairing security software and hardware ensures total accountability. Some hardware systems that can integrate with your security systems are like key cards, fob systems. They've got cool things now like biometric iris recognition locks, which I remember being a kid and seeing those in cartoons and never thinking that would be a thing of the future, but it is.
It's here.
And there's other companies out there. I know David Beckett with 710. He is a March Networks dealer. So that's an integrated system that deals with inventory tracking and safeguarding your employees as far as transactions go. It's another thing that then will transfer over and work with Metric. Yeah, so integrating your systems fully from hardware to software is very important. All right, next slide. All right, so our specialty is guarding services. It's very important to make sure that your buildings are fortified. You got eyes on all your plants and all your operations. But the biggest thing, the biggest deterrent you can have is having a guard. I know in some places it's required to have guards 24 hours. Some places are just fine with camera systems. But again, when it goes back to being a deterrent, having someone there, having someone, a well-trained pair of eyes that can preemptively spot any security anomalies is very important. If it's within your cost measures, it would benefit you to have 24-hour security guards, at least at major grows. Dispensaries aren't as important, especially if they're in highly densely populated areas, but some remote grows, outdoor grows. It's very important to have someone constantly walking around. We have other service that you can do with either unarmed or armed guards, just depending on the situation. We can have guards there for large cash transactions, specifically if you guys have to take a large amount of money to the bank. And that's where secure transportation will come in. We offer patrol services, which we actually tell a municipality and law enforcement it's very important to try to keep these close together to save these business people money. Because if they all contract with the same person, they're able to just have one patrol going around all their facilities, checking all the doors every hour, making sure no one's broken in. And things even in grows, checking the systems, making sure that for some reason the temperature in the room isn't skyrocketing or the humidity is high. And if it is, they have the capability to be able to call someone, the sergeant of the guard or whoever is designated for that, to let them know that there's something going wrong with their facility. So having someone on the premises is very, very beneficial.
Well, yeah. Did you see the big fire with DNA Genetics?
I did not.
Oh my gosh, yesterday there was a massive greenhouse fire, and I think, I don't know the story behind it really, but, I think of that situation and having guards there and in different areas of your facility to just like alert the rest of facilities, like evacuate, because I can imagine that was a pretty scary situation.
Right.
And in some of these instances, like maybe a massive fire or I know Ted has talked about like an active shooter scenario, things like that are probably pretty important to have these SOPs written and your employees very trained on this just in case.
Yes. Yeah. And we'll touch on that a little bit, but having everyone on your staff, just being security minded is very important. Hopefully we can get away from the point in this industry that it's no longer induces fear in some people or has worry of something happening. But it's very important to just be cognizant of all these. And when bringing on guards, I've heard people say in the past, like, we'll bring our own guards or we'll train our own employees. Which is definitely will save on the back end, but when it comes to actually having experience and doing everything properly, it's very important to get highly trained. Not necessarily veterans. We always choose veterans because we're part of the community, and you can't take away the fact that millions of dollars have been spent on individuals to be security minded and to have these skill sets to see things preemptively. And then in one of our next webinars, we'll actually be discussing how to implement and integrate guards into your business, just so they're not just standing there and taking up space or maybe scaring people that are coming into dispensaries or whatnot, but how to properly train them along with your staff to make sure that they're bringing that friendly environment that the cannabis industry is.
Right.
All right, we can go to the next slide.
Okay.
So securing your operations, one of the most important things you can do when securing your operations, like we said, is putting security measures right into your standard operating procedures. Developing these SOPs helps promote good security practices. It will improve your business process. It provides the necessary structure for your employees to succeed and to work in compliance with the state laws. It helps maintain inventory tracking protocols, and then regular training and evaluation is very important. Always knowing what your staff is doing, how they're doing, what's on their mind. It maintains full accountability for the entire staff from your management down to your lowest bud tender. It's very important just to go over these, have manuals set in place. That's where your security plan comes, because the security plans that we produce work hand in hand with your SOPs. Alrighty, next slide.
All right.
So staff security when hiring is very important. So a quick story on that: a grower in Colorado, I believe, a grower with a good quality security system suffered a robbery at the hands of an employee he knew the system well, had keys, knew where the DVRs were stored and where shipments came in. He used someone else's code to break in or to disarm the security system, and then he stole $500,000 and took of money and product and took all the DVRs, therefore took all the evidence, which was sitting right next to the safe, which goes back to what I said. You want to make sure that you have all of these different pieces, your safes, your DVRs, all separated and locked individually. But when hiring, you got to realize that external dangers, are actually not the biggest. It's the internal threats, like I just shared. So it's very important to properly vet your people and do accurate background checks, not just some online service, but utilizing a company like NCSS or other companies that do background checks to ensure that these people are the right people you want to bring on board. And even still, it's very important to do things like reference checks, because a lot of people can look clean on paper, but that doesn't mean that they have a clean heart. So they might have some bad intentions. And then in your industry, or in your facility, create an environment that fosters honesty. Make sure you bring the right people. In your SOPs, set up requirements that everything has to be accurately documented, so there are no margins for error. And then with your people, it's very important to empower them, treat your people nice, make them feel like they want to come to work, and that will ensure the complete security of your staff. Next slide. One of the staff security issues I noticed, I could talk on dispensaries, but one thing that's really not talked about too much is in the production hazards that come along in the cannabis industry at major grows. If you see right here, respiratory, optical, and dermal exposures to THC are something we don't really take in consideration. I've been in major grows, and I've seen employees now they're starting to wear personal protective equipment or PPE, like what's listed on the right. It just depends on, for example, if you guys have like a CO2 system going, and I'm not big into the horticulture, but I know respiratory systems are very important. Wearing eye protection to avoid UV exposure, or if a branch were to hit you in the eye, you get a bud in the eye. I'm sure that wouldn't feel too good. And then just wearing things like skin protection. You see those lab suits. That also helps with staff security. Try to get pocketless items to avoid people from snagging little nugs and taking them home with them. If there's long hair, I'm growing mine out, so I have to start wearing a hairnet as well, but avoid getting little nuglets in the hair and whatnot. There's other things like exposures to pesticides and fertilizers. Like I said, ultraviolet exposure, carbon monoxide or nitrogen exposure from the CO2 devices, and then heat stress from the military to daily life to working in the cannabis industry. Staying hydrated is very important. So making sure that your staff there's easily water available for everyone. All right, if you want to go to the next slide. So cannabis at home. From cultivation to consumption, it's very important to be aware of just keeping a secure and safe mindset. So educate yourself about your rights, the health risks, laws, and consequences of using cannabis. There aren't very many consequences from what I've heard, as long as you're within the legal parameters. Knowing things like health risks, knowing different methods, safer methods than just sparking up a doobie. I'm sure that is perfectly fine, but it does introduce carcinogens into your lungs. So thankfully, the industry is progressing in a manner that there are so many other ways to utilize the medicinal purposes of the plant. Obviously, do not drive or operate vehicles while impaired. I'm sure some people are maybe a little eager to get home with their freshly bought product, but make sure that you are doing it in the confines of your home or a specific area that is safe. And then when storing your products at home, if you have children, please keep them in an airtight container and out of reach of children. There's a reason why it's being implemented in the law that you have to be 21 and up to use this in some states. So it's just very important. We don't want kids to be damaged preemptively before their bodies are ready for this medication. All right, next slide. And so 3 keys to success. I just want to tell anyone as far as implementing safety and security into their industry, compliance is key. Like we know that the state police here in Michigan and all the enforcement agencies involved are going to be very strict. They are being strict with just implementing or issuing licenses, let alone inspection, and then maintaining these inspections moving forward. Step 2, integrate security policies and procedures in your day-to-day operations, from your SOPs to your hiring processes to your inventory management, just being safe and secure throughout the entire thing. And then, like we said, take the time and invest early. Make sure that the people that you're bringing on have your best interests at heart, and there's going to be someone that you can work with, not just at the beginning, but throughout the longevity of your facility's operations. And the last slide, NCSS, give us a call for any of your security needs. We're a one-stop shop. As soon as we get that transportation piece here in Michigan, we'll be able to service all your security needs.
Awesome job, Aaron. Great information. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, by the way, if you have any questions, now's your chance to ask. You can submit your questions using the Q&A button on your screen, or you could just put them in the chat section and we will get them answered. If you don't have questions right now, but you do later, all you have to do is contact Aaron. There's his information right there. He would be happy to talk to you. Aaron, I do have some questions.
Okay.
So, first of all, when is it that clients start that conversation with you typically to start talking about security within their business? When is a good time for them to approach you and start that conversation?
Right from the get-go, immediately when you're thinking about applying for a license, one of the first steps is obviously identifying a facility for your operation to be at. So even from deciding where you want to place it, we can do things like security assessments or threat assessments, working with the local police and to figure out what the crime rate is like in the area. We can suggest and help you find maybe a better location, or finding a very sturdy foundation. Some people might want to open up something with like very weak exterior walls. I'll be able to come on board and offer consulting and look at things like the walls and say, maybe this isn't a proper zoned area, but maybe if it's within your budget, maybe knock down and build again, or maybe find a new location, things of that nature. So right off the bat, it's very important to at least establish the relationship and have a game plan moving forward.
And then what does the relationship look like post-licensure? So after a licensee gets their license, what does that relationship typically look like moving forward? Do you guys?
It only grows. It only grows from there. That's what really drew me to the security aspect of things through Ted Dana's. The building relationships, not client list aspect. So it's not just here. We're going to set up your security system, and here's your guard. Have good luck. We want to ensure the longevity of this industry. For me, what I tell everyone is, I'm young. I got 25 years of work left in me. I want to see this boom on an international scale. So working with our clients throughout all their security needs is very important, because this is a cash-based industry for right now, and it probably will continue to be so even once the banks are involved. So just making sure that their money's safe. The product is very easily, once it's stolen, it's very easy to get benefits from it. So just making sure that your entire industry, your staff, and you yourself are security minded.
Can patients work within the company, within NCSS? If you are a medical marijuana patient, can you be involved in the security aspect of these facilities?
Of course. Now, from being an armed guard, obviously, no. And then the transportation laws, it states that you cannot have a medical card if you're going to be a guard. But that we have many more positions than just guards. You know, we have, and we utilize many aspects of the industry. I have a gentleman that I work with who is a chemist, and he is a veteran, and he does not consume cannabis. He doesn't have a medical card, but he helps us with things like doing audits for processors or safety and compliance labs. So yes, there's always room. We don't discourage individuals from utilizing medicine. Obviously, we wouldn't be in the cannabis industry if we thought otherwise.
Right. We do have a question. Joe asked, what are the biggest safety and security challenges for risk managers in today's cannabis markets, either private, such as insurance, or public safety officials and officers?
Is there somewhere I can read that? There we go.
Yes, and what are the biggest safety and security challenges for risk managers, either as insurance or public safety officers?
Things like just internal break-ins, honestly, your staff, just making sure that your staff is complying with state laws and are just the people you want on board. There's really no way to specifically say when an incident is going to happen that's going to either cause safety concerns or security issues. So just making sure you bring on trustworthy people, vet your people. Hopefully, you know, we can find some people with some experience, but Michigan's a new market. So finding those people, it's gonna be a work in progress. That's why it's very important to work with these security agencies to ensure that you're bringing on the right people.
Right.
And then as far as with public safety officials, transparency. This industry has been black market for a very long time. A lot of people don't want to work with law enforcement, and once the industry and everyone else getting educated, just having that transparency, letting your law enforcement come in and see your facilities, that will ease pretty much all of your issues. If people see that Officer Joe Smuckatelli comes in once a week just to check the place, they know that that's probably not a place to go to because they've got good relations with the local law enforcement.
That was actually going to be my question. Next question was, what does a relationship between you and your law enforcement look like? I mean, because right now, you know, like when you are at the municipality part of it and trying to convince the municipality to opt in, it seems like sometimes it feels like law enforcement are like, no, we don't want this. This is more work for us. Like,
Exactly. And that's the thing I tell people. They don't want more work.
right. So what can you do, us, the people that are seeking licenses, what can we do to make them feel a little bit more at ease about this?
Well, my first step, like I said, in getting involved early with security company, a lot of things I do. One of my favorite cases is Emmett Township in Battle Creek. We met with the police officers. We met with the board members, and I asked them, "Sir, you know, I'm a military member. I come from a law enforcement family. What are your concerns right off the bat?" And once we get those, once clear expectations are set, it's very easy to come to a mutual understanding and find a way to push forward. That's all they want. They don't want more work. They don't want more criminal activity. So it's doing things like showing them statistics from other places throughout the country, and then just showing transparency, showing these police officers and the people on your city council who you are and who you are as a person will do nothing but help.
Right. And then what other industries have security protocols similar to what we see in the cannabis industry?
I mean, anything that's really cash based, well, especially pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals are more cameras, but I know for a fact here I'm in Kalamazoo, really close to Pfizer, and you can definitely see guards walking around. Banks, you know, there's many other industries that just need safety. Bars, you name it. There's always a need to have safety and security measures, especially as unfortunately as we see things like active shooters popping up all over the country. It's always important to have someone at least with a security mindset around to look out for the best interests of all the people.
Aaron, really great job. Great information today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Jamie.
it. I am going to share my screen again really quick before we get off here. Tell everybody a little bit about what we have going on right now. First of all, I want to always thank our founding members. National Cannabis Security Services, we have THC 123, Bricks and Mortar Insurance, Canna Media Works, Cola Marketing, Vista Green Group, LC Solutions Michigan, Ingrid Marketing, and ICS Consulting. These are all the best in the business offering services to the Michigan market. If you are looking for insurance providers, staffers, marketing, security, licensing help, tax and accountants, compliance. I mean, these are the cream of the crop. So make sure that you reach out to these people because they are already doing a lot of business in the Michigan market and have been. Most of these people I've been working with for more than 6 months, maybe longer. Like Ted, I've been working with him for over 2 years now. So huge thanks to our founding members for making Cannabis Connection possible and these webinars. These were the webinars that we hosted for the entire month of July. If you missed the webinar on the 10th and 17th, it is accessible on our website, cannabisconnection.com. All you have to do is sign up for a free account. As soon as you log into your account on our website, there's a tab that appears at the top called the Learning Academy. And what you do is just click on that and you will be able to have access to all of these webinars. Erin's webinar today will be accessible tomorrow. And then next week, we are going to be talking about building a memorable cannabis brand. I will be hosting a webinar with Brian Town of Michigan Creative. And by the way, Brian is awesome. He and I partnered up to create Cola Marketing, a marketing company specific to the cannabis industry. Another thing, we are kicking off our monthly networking events this Thursday. We are having an event in both Ann Arbor and Warren. And so make sure that you come. This is just the kickoff. We are going to be hosting these events the last Thursday of every month. Yes, they're held at the same time, last Thursday of every month, but we did this on purpose. You know, we're setting up 10 different events, 10 different locations where you can go and network with other cannabis business professionals. We saw the need that existed. You know, we needed that opportunity for us all to come together and meet our potential partners, our investors, our team members, our strategic alliances, you name it. So just come on out, just a couple hours. We'll be having, you know, there will be food and drinks available for purchase. And it's just, we come together and we network. And then again, sign up for a Cannabis Connection business professionals account. As soon as you do that, you will get access to all of our webinars. You'll get on the email list. You'll learn about all of our networking events. Every week I send an email out, talks about the upcoming webinars. It talks about the upcoming networking events, opportunities, and also it lists some of the cannabis business news of the week. So it's everybody loves the emails. And you know, it's just, we need information, and it's great to have this as a resource if you're building a business here in Michigan. And it looks like Joe says, I have an answer for your questions. What states are doing to support law enforcement and make it easier for locations to sell? Underwriter Laboratories, third party, work closely with law enforcement in Sacramento to support their security inspections by issuing certificates to locations that sell and grow cannabis, looking at the intrusion and electronic security side of the industry. Well, thank you very much, Joe, for telling us about that. And that's, I mean, what's great is we weren't the first. Colorado, Washington, they were the first. We have the opportunity to learn from the mistakes of other states and to really, I feel like Michigan has done a really incredible job of crafting a law, and even the recreational law that's going to be on the ballot. We're crafting legislation, we're crafting these laws that are going to be really great for us. And thankfully, we learned from other states. Yes. So, you know, like I always, every time I go into a municipality, I have to remind these these elected officials that we are not reinventing the wheel. This has been done in several other states.
Right. And being the second largest market in the Midwest, we're setting the bar.
Yes, we are. We are setting the bar. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And what we are seeing in Michigan, I mean, this is just the beginning. Things are about to really change, and it's going to change for the good. It's going to be a wild, crazy ride. Hang on tight. But, 5 years from now, we're going to be like, whew, thank goodness that's over. So let me take a drink of water really quick. Okay. But thank you all for being here today. Thank you for being here on our webinar. We will have our webinar kick off again 2 o'clock every Tuesday. We will be talking about building a cannabis brand. Aaron, as always, thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. And I really look forward to kicking off these events with you this week.
Yes, very excited. Thanks for having me, and I'll probably see you up in Grand Rapids tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, and we will see you all next week. Bye.